all markets evolve, right? They evolve, they become more sophisticated as they're exposed to more offers, as different solutions are introduced into the market. Markets change, and what was new and fresh and unique 6 months ago may not be new, unique, or fresh at all anymore. What was once a wildly compelling offer might no longer be a compelling offer at all. What was once considered an attractive solution might not be considered an attractive solution. What was once a problem in your marketplace that you could address and solve and get paid well for it might no longer be a problem that people see as a necessity to solve. Maybe it's solved now. And so markets evolve. And what I see, and kind of the reason for wanting to share this with you guys, is I continue to see marketers that are holding on to what worked in the past. You know, I said it yesterday and I'm going to say it again. I believe that there is, of course, we need to do marketplace research, right? We need to understand the prospects. We need to understand, you know, if you want to go as deep as demographics, psychographics. You know, I loved what Peter, what is it, Kell? I love kind of Peter's angle when he talked about like his marketplace research is more about what are the winners doing. Like I can learn everything I need to know about what to say to the market by looking at what the winners are already saying to the market that's producing results. I love that. And that's obviously critical. At the same time, there is also the necessity to keep your finger on the pulse of the market. I can't tell you, like I can't stress that enough. You have to stay in tune with the marketplace and what they're seeing and what they're hearing and what they're believing and what new objections are coming up and what new offers they're being exposed to and what new solutions they're being exposed to. Excuse me, what content ideas are now kind of front and center, right? Like we, you know, 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago, AI was not a thing that people were talking about in our marketplace. Now at points it can feel like it's the only thing that people want to talk about in our marketplace. Right? Now that's an extreme example, but there are examples of that kind of change on a much smaller level that if you are not in tune with, your marketing can fall behind. Your marketing can fall behind. And what was once good, effective, and appropriate marketing is no longer any of those things as your marketplace has evolved and changed. The only difference between markets is how quickly they evolve and how the magnitude of that evolution. And so, right, like the evolution, the change that we've seen, let's say, in the internet marketing world over the last, call it 24 months, is incredibly significant and profound compared to, let's say, the prior 60 months, the prior 5 years, right? So some markets, you know, some markets, they change quicker than others. Like, let's say the financial market. The financial market can change, you know, even day to day, week to week, month to month. Whereas, let's say the alternative health space might not see as rapid of an evolution or a change, right? But every market evolves. And as your market is exposed to more and more offers, more and more products, more and more solutions, you have to be aware of what does that mean today in terms of what we need to put out in front of them in order to convert. And so I'm always thinking about, like, remember, I'm always thinking about the marketplace, meaning I'm always like, what do these people want to hear? What do they no longer want to hear? What do they care about? What do they no longer care about? What would they see today as different, unique, fresh? That's what I'm always thinking about. Always thinking about that. And as that is changing and evolving, we are adapting accordingly to make sure that we're always, right, we're doing the best we can to come at it from a different, unique, fresh, timely angle. If you don't keep your finger on the pulse of the market, how can you be timely? How can you know that you're being fresh? It's like what I've said, what many of you have heard me say before. How do you know you have a unique mechanism if you don't know what mechanisms your competitors are offering? If you have no idea what they're offering, then you have no idea whether you have a unique mechanism or a commoditized mechanism because you're not aware of what others are offering. And so you got to keep your finger on the pulse of the market. And your stuff has to evolve as the marketplace evolves. You got to adapt your stuff. The first way of adapting your market is very straightforward. And I would just say that it's content topics, right? And this should be common sense. And I'm going to say this, I'm going to be kind of as tight and concise as I can with each of these 9 ways for you. From a content topic perspective, there are 2 things that I would look at. I would look at, of course, what does the market care about that they want to hear more about, that we need to incorporate, that we need to, right? But what are also the topics that they don't care about anymore, right? So what are the things that are now old hat? What are the things that are also being talked about by everybody and their brother, where the marketplace is now saturated with a content idea? Because I'm not going to go into that, right? I'm not going to contribute more to the saturation in terms of a content idea. I'm looking for a fresh, unique angle. I'm looking for a fresh, unique piece of content. So, right, I'm always looking at, right, well, what does the market care about and what do they no longer care about? What do they view as valuable? What do they no longer view as valuable? What do they want to know today and what do they no longer want to know more about? Right? There are a lot of topics in the internet marketing world for folks that have been around a while that like there were very hot topics years ago that are no longer even talked about at all. Right? As technology has changed, as opportunities have changed, as markets have changed, and so on. You have to be aware of that and you have to adapt your content. And when I say content in this context, I don't only mean things like your organic content if you're doing a newsletter. I just mean any information. If you're sending out a newsletter and you're telling a story in that newsletter, is it something that they're going to find interesting, unique, valuable today? And so your content topics need to adapt as the marketplace evolves. You can't continue, you can't continue to say the same thing. You might be talking about, let's say, you might have a piece of content that is addressing a problem that was a significant problem a year ago that is no longer a significant problem, right? Like at some point, if, we were talking earlier, Rich and I think Lucas and Andre, we were talking about, and Michael, we were talking about AI and how there's going to come a time when AI, if it's not almost here, it's going to be here soon, where AI can write all of your copy and it'll be great and it'll convert and it'll do really well. So there's going to come a time when, let's say learning how to write extraordinary copy is not going to be nearly as in demand as it is today, and it's not even nearly as in demand today as it was 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 years ago. And so all of those things are important for you to understand because you've got to match your message to where your market is today. Next is, and this should be really clear to all of you already, that you've got to adapt your marketing ideas and hooks as the marketplace evolves. This, first of all, goes back to something that you've heard me say, something that was mentioned for those of you that were here and paying attention during Copy Legends, that big ideas exist within a time, space, and context. That a big idea, something that is a big idea that grabs attention, that seizes your marketplace's attention, right, has a lifespan. Just because something was a big idea a year ago and worked like crazy and gangbusters doesn't mean that it's still a big idea today. Just because a hook worked 8 months ago or 10 months ago doesn't mean that it's going to work today. Again, you have to understand, right? And you're going to hear me kind of repeat the same things over and over with each of these 9 ways. You have to understand today what is an attention grabber today in terms of a hook, in terms of an idea. What's going to grab their attention today? Always go to the here and now. What are they hearing? What are they seeing? What are they believing? What are they doubting? What is already commoditized information? What's already commoditized ideas? What are hooks that are already being played out? Right? Like I'm never looking for, these 4 marketers are all using this hook. I'm going to use a better version of that hook. Never. I never do that. Never do that. And so your ideas and hooks need to adapt. The other thing is that let's take this one step further, and this actually might be on here, but I'm going to say it now anyway, is that this also includes, I think it's on here. Well, what I was going to say, it is on here somewhere. What I was going to say was your claims and promises. Your claims and promises, which are often part of our big ideas and hooks, need to evolve and adapt. Because look, first and foremost, I want you to understand that a promise that worked 6 months ago and was wildly compelling may no longer be wildly compelling today based on what the marketplace is now seeing from other people. Right? A promise, a claim of benefit may no longer be, right, because they're hearing it from a ton of people. The other thing is that, right, like I would say that, look, if you're making a promise and that promise is now also being made in very similar language by a half a dozen or a dozen other people, you now have a promise that is one among many. Why would you think that that is going to work extraordinarily well if you're just one among many and you look and feel and sound similar to what's out there? You got to keep your finger on the pulse of the market. You have to know what they're seeing. And when they're being inundated with a particular claim, it's time to adapt your claim. It's time to adapt your claim, right? Adjust your claim so that you don't seem like one among many.